There you are.
Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's a Friday night, 7:09 p.m. Central, year 13 of doing this S. I've enjoyed it. Year 13, man. 13 years.
That's like a real job.
I know. Hopefully I survive year 13. It seems like everything's going good, so I think get too superstitious about 13. I like the number, so we should be okay.
So, phobia, right?
Yeah.
Fear of Friday the 13th.
Exactly. Our guest, the return of Carter Buschardt, the Revenge. And we got Wham here with us tonight. It's
Hello.
good to have you. Good to have you back here, Carter.
Good to be back. I was looking forward to it. It's been, a year?
Yeah, it's been a little while for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I've lost track, but yeah.
Yeah,
I've been busy, so you've been busy. So Wham, I just met her, but I think she's been busy slapping people around.
I only slap Joe around because Joe needs to be slapped around.
Joe
needs the discipline, huh?
Joe has to be disciplined. Carter, I saw your Halloween pics of Elvira and you were Hannibal and everything.
Yeah.
What was that from? And you're doing that again this year. And I was also going to say, tell your wife that Elvira's coming to Shudder for 40th anniversary show this October. They're doing something big on that Shudder service, SHUDDER. Really good Shudder.
I might have to write that down because we've been doing the Shudder, SHUDDER. We have a big amusement park here. It's called Worlds of Fun. It's kind of like Disneyland but smaller. It's huge and very successful. It's been around forever, and they do its thing on Halloween, the Halloween Haunt, and they just have a parade of cars, and there's Hollywood grade makeup artists that work and make all these people up. I forget how many hundreds of actors there are. They're portraying different things. It's very elaborate, very high tech. And so they have cars that start the parade off, and it's a parade of, classic cars or cars that are made up, in various forms of Halloween, death, despair, mayhem, skulls, all that kind of stuff. But
Death, mayhem, and
we have a 1959 Thunderbird convertible, and we just volunteered. Then we realized that Elvira has the same car with a custom-made grill. So, but my wife, has the outfit and the wigs and all of that, and so we're a big hit there. We're one of the first 4 or 5 cars in the parade, and they just drive through this park and then stop, and then they have this big presentation for about 30 minutes. Of all kinds of, monster stuff going on. It's pretty cool. It's very elaborate. So it's about the 4th year we've done it. They didn't do it last year because of COVID.
Yeah. Well, it definitely looked awesome. And I grew up watching Elvira. I can remember her on like regular TV coming on, weird movies and stuff when I was a kid or whatever age it was. But one thing, Shudder is a service for horror movies. It's only like $5 a month, but it's really good. That Joe Bob Briggs is on there. He's another one of those hosts, and he does all kinds of telethons. The Elvira thing's coming, but there's all kinds of creature features. You'd love it for sure. Lots of good stuff on there. She's going to be on there for the 40th anniversary thingy. She also has a biography coming out, a book she wrote in October that's written by her, like a biography.
Cool. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll send them a picture, see if they post it,
Yeah, cool, definitely.
But we love it. We love it. It's something to do for Halloween,
We don't even get trick-or-treaters here. It's so weird. Like, it's just so weird. They, try to change the day and stuff so that the devil won't get you or whatever. Like weird stuff. We don't even trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, we don't get trick-or-treaters at our house because we live, on acreage, and it's on a 2-lane road with no sidewalks, and it's dark. So nobody, and we're right in the middle of the city. We live in Liberty, Missouri, but there's nowhere for kids to walk safely. So there's nobody ever trick-or-treats we've been here 12 years. We've never had one trick-or-treater except a family member who was in the neighborhood and just stopped by, otherwise.
Wow. Yeah. I love Halloween. I'm one of those. It's like September, it started.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for sure. Well, there was something I saw on that paranormal caught on camera, and I don't know how good, if all that footage is real. Sure, truly not. But there's some good stuff on there that is pretty convincing. But one of them, this like rancher was walking down a trail. I think he was on his horse, and something goes, "Hey." And he's claimed it was possibly a skinwalker or something like that. But they showed that one. And then there was another strange one where these India dudes were hanging out at this location, and all kinds of weird stuff was happening there. Like little fires would start, and and something peeked around the corner. A lot of that stuff seems pretty good footage, but you don't know because I'm not, obviously don't know the people that make that show. But one thing I wanted to ask, in some of these cases, do things try to lure people off the trail for some reason like that, with like maybe mimicking something or something like that?
I haven't had any of that go on with any of my, I deal with a lot of habituation properties where people have been living there for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, generations, and they have ongoing activity there. I've only got one property where they have heard chatter, but not of an invitational type thing. It's just more chatter, and it is more than likely Sasquatch. But I've heard chatter in one of my research areas that's in a conservation area, and it definitely did not sound like anything I had heard before. And it could have been tempting me or asking me, but it was just hyena-like laughter and chatter and some snickering. It was just kind of just odd. But I always have activity when I'm there, so it could have been some juveniles just messing with me. But I have not been involved with anything of that invitational wise. I haven't. None of my witnesses have. My guy up in Canada's got a lot of bizarre stuff going on, but it's nothing of that nature. I do have a site where they are seeing what looks like little people. I've got some trail cam photos that they've sent me, and I think one of them I put in the book. It's odd. They have this trail cam service where it's a subscription where you pay like $50 a month, and you get it's radio controlled, it's internet, satellite based. So it takes a picture once an hour and emails you the picture. No matter what's going on, it takes a picture once an hour, and then if it detects activity, it works like a regular trail cam. So, yeah. And they've got a series of 3 photos, and they sent me the one that looks like a little person or looks like a raccoon maybe, or something with mange. It's got gray skin. There's no hair anywhere. You can't really see the head. It's standing up and kind of bent over, kind of like this over a bush. And it's just, not tall, maybe 1.5 to 2 feet. And I said, well, send me the photo before, immediately before and immediately after. And they happen to have it. And it's got the time date stamp on it. And it's nothing. Then there that thing is, and the sunlight's hitting it right in this little spot. And then the next photo, the sunlight's gone, and there's nothing there. And it looks really bizarre. It, nothing I could place. I mean, it could be a forest person. It could be a baby Sasquatch or something, because it's just at a weird angle, but it's definitely something that's a little bottom heavy and it's bent over. But I don't get many reports like that. I've just started getting some dogman reports from Sasquatch witnesses who've seen one and then the other.
Those are interesting. Those are always interesting.
Yeah. And so I've had a couple of reports published in an area south of me. And after he reported the Sasquatch, we got all finished. He says, "Now I want to tell you something else. You're not going to believe this, but I'm pretty sure I saw a dogman." He goes on to describe them. And this one area is known for a lot of Native American activity, Native American lore. It's called Amarugia Conservation Area. It's south of Harrisonville, Missouri. And I took this report 7-8 months ago. And he described it. He said, that movie, The Mummy, with Brendan Fraser, looked just like Anubis. Tall, skinny, broad shoulder, long snout, walking upright, legs were bent backwards like a dog. I mean, he wasn't BSing me. He was just describing what him and his girlfriend saw. And, and there's legends of something like that going on. It's gone back for a couple hundred years in that area. So I'm just not picking up on those. And I don't know if people are. Most of my witnesses are a little reticent to come forward because they've been ridiculed and laughed at. Because I'm talking to a lot of people now with abstract quantum type events that defy the Sasquatch crossing a road, and I saw one watching the fish across the creek kind of stuff, which are all great reports, but they're getting very abstract and paranormal and, cloaking, and I'm getting a bunch of that. And the second book I just finished or refinished it is full of it, which is crazy. But they don't have anybody to talk to. That's their problem, is when they talk to, investigator, they call their local BFRO guy or Sasquatch person they've heard of, and they're always trying to convince them that, well, that's not what you really saw. What you saw was something else. You were mistaken, or it's probably because their belief system is they're just a dumb ape in the woods. Well, that only gives you so much. It gives you so many choices. You're just limited when you just think they're flesh and blood. They can't do any of this other stuff, and so they have no one to talk to. So I'm the lucky guy. They've been calling me with all kinds of bizarre stuff. And a guy up in Canada has been going through stuff for about 40 years.
Wow.
40 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of 50 Years of Bigfoot, Janice Carter, that book, which I think is a very good book, actually. I think it's all true stuff. Her and her grandpa dealt with the Sasquatch family for years and years and years, decades. And so it's kind of like that. Him and his dad. He's lost one wife and 2 girlfriends over bizarre activity. So he's legit. Whether you buy into it or not, it's not my problem. I can't convince you if you don't believe it. But some of the stuff he's saying is just off the charts, and it matches up with a lot of other stuff. So to answer your question, I don't get a lot of those, but I'm starting to get the very esoteric, bizarre stuff now that people are finally at least have enough courage to come forward and talk to somebody about it, and they choose me.
That's good. And with Dog Man, I mean, from what you're seeing, what do we know about it? I know I've had Linda Godfrey on before, and she's got a lot of books about that kind of thing, and what Beast of Bray Road, stuff like that. But from what you're seeing of cases, what is it? What's going on with it? What are they up to? What's a Dogman? What are they doing?
Well, it appears to be a more vicious and aggressive type creature, and I can't discount that, because these sane, rational people like the 3 of us, although somebody probably thinking they're crazy loons as we were sitting here speaking, but they're coming forward. You just can't deny what they're saying. You have to listen to them with an open mind and go, you don't want any publicity, you don't want any money, you don't want your name used, location, you don't want anything. You just want to tell your story, have a soft place to land, and let the chips fall where they may. And so I got to have an open mind. Who am I to say, you're full of crap? That's not what you saw. What you saw was a guy in a Halloween costume. Well, that's a good way to get shot if somebody's out there just trying to punk somebody.
Yes.
Namely, the guy up in Utah or Idaho, whatever it was, that was trying to fake people seeing a Sasquatch crossing the road. He got run over by a highway. He's wearing a ghillie suit. So I think there's something to it. That's just not my area of study, but it's creeping into it, and there's not a lot of difference. It's a bipedal, unknown something that a lot of people are seeing, and they're not related. They're not, some of them are in the same area, some aren't, but I think there's something to it. I just haven't done enough research on it, but where there's smoke, there's fire. There's something going on, I think so.
That guy I sent you his channel, Jesus Payon, that's on, he was in Breaking Bad, and he's been on a bunch of shows, but he has that Breaking Bigfoot channel. He's got some footage. I don't know if you had a chance to look through it yet, but if you can do sometime, and you too, Wham, if you can, it's called Breaking Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah. I've heard
There's
of it.
some footage on there that I mean, it's amazing. And Carter, you have some great stuff too. He somehow is doing something to where you can actually see their eyes and their mouth and stuff, and that's something I'm not used to seeing with a lot of that stuff. And I'm sure there's other stuff out there like that, but definitely has. One thing he did too is he put up a UFO sightings map with a Bigfoot sightings map, and like it was had the. I'm sure everyone's probably seen these online, but they kind of matched up weirdly. Not to say everything's from UFOs, but it was kind of weird. I'm sure someone could debate it until their head falls off, but it was just kind of a weird coincidence is that they were kind of similar, same locations.
Yeah.
So that's why I wonder if some of these things are like, some kind of scouting creature for something or for aliens or something.
I don't know. I looked at a couple of his things. He has that one treatment, I think it was on a cell phone, which makes it look like broad daylight, but it's actually night. And that's where he had those two little eyes looking, glowing, I believe they're red, and looked like a couple taillights. But it's in the forest, right on the other side of a tree, like a tree picker would be. And so, yeah, he's got some pretty cool stuff. I didn't look at all of it, but I looked at the first two or three things, but yeah, and that's going to be the thing that tips the evidence towards us common folks, not the scientists or the government. But we have so much technology at our disposal now with all just think of what's in your phone. Just the technology is just in your phone, and the apps and the attachments you can get for thermal night vision that gloms onto your phone, and you can use it and look around. The only problem I have with that is that it lights up your face, and so you're not really clandestine. You're like glowing in the dark in the middle of the woods, so it's obvious who you are and where you are and what you're doing. But that being said, the technology is there, and some of the videos are getting better and better. The DNA being affordable at our level to get some things tested is getting there. So it's going to be, I think, with the Sasquatch, it's going to be just like the UFOs. The government lies to you for 80, 90 years, denies it. All of a sudden they go, oh, wait, they do exist. We've been lying for 80 years. We do have some things that we just can't prove, and that we know they're not Earth made, and they're not terrestrial in origin, so we don't know what they are. So now they're admitting it's going to be the same with Sasquatch, because they can only lie so much. They can only bullshit us, excuse my French, for so long until you just have to come forward. And they're going to throw us a stupid little bone like Patterson Gimlin is real, and we'll be left to debate that yet again while they try to decide what they can tell us, So it's interesting. I think the next 2 to 5 years are going to be quite interesting, if not sooner.
And what's interesting to think about is how our government's interacted with them before, or hurt them, or studied them, or, God knows done what to them. So I know there's a lot of weird stories of them showing up near military bases and soldiers seeing them and stuff like that. So just to think what the government knows and what they probably have done.
Oh, yeah. They have organized groups to go out and kill them or eradicate them in certain areas when where they're logging. And they're going deeper and deeper. I'm talking about the logging companies, the paper industry. They're going deeper and deeper into areas where they live to get the prime old growth wood that's high dollar. And they're running into the Sasquatches. Well, that's their home. That's you get out of here. This is where we live. And so there are instances. I have a good story I just put in my book that my guy was on a tree planting crew, and they ran into that very thing, and it's a really riveting story. And so I know all this stuff's going on. The government knows, the lumber and paper companies know, science knows. Science gets all their grants from the government. So if you want your grant, you tell everybody what we tell you to tell them. Sasquatch doesn't exist. There's no proof. Okay, here's your grant money. Now you're shut up. You're happy. Go away. So that's kind of how it works in a Cliff Notes.
And then national parks probably know. It seems like they're covering it up too as well. And then of course there's missing 411, which is weird, and so many things with that possible theories that something Bigfoot could be involved in some of those cases, but it could be anything. I don't really know. Those cases are definitely weird as hell for sure. There's some weird ones.
Well, you mentioned that map, that overlay. If you take the UFO sightings, you take the missing 411, You take those two overlays and overlay them on a map of the United States cave system. Ironic, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of clusters of, there's a lot of sightings here, there's a lot of caves right there too, and there's missing people right there too. So, and I'm not sure the Sasquatch are involved with the missing people, but could be ETs, could be ETs and Sasquatch work together in some way, shape, or form. They may live underground. And so, the questions, the odd things about some of these people's disappearance. I mean, there's been, I don't know, several thousand, and I've read probably a couple hundred of those reports where they're taking off their shoes and their clothes and folded up nicely and neatly and sitting on a rock. It all involves rock and a lot of granite and limestone, which has crystal in it, and quartz, which has esoteric properties as far as paranormal and communication and spirits and stuff of that nature. It's just an odd combination. And so who goes walking in the woods and gets pretty much butt naked, or at least takes your shoes off and walks for 5 miles, and your body or you are found alive 5 miles away from where you took off your shoes and or some clothes and just left them, and you walk barefoot through the forest? Come on, something is amiss.
Definitely.
And so we keep looking and we keep barking and going, hey, what is going on? You owe us, someone's going to have to spill the beans. You just can't keep BSing us forever. It's fascinating. I'm very sad for the people that disappear, but it's
scary.
Yeah.
I've interviewed David quite a few times. It's been a while, but I interviewed him in written form once for Examiner down here in Florida. It's gone now. I think they closed down or something. But I had a Bigfoot question in the questions, and he made me admit it and told me that people would think he was crazy if he asked that, missing families mourning. And I understood that, but he kind of alluded that there may be a little truth to it. He just didn't want to have it in there, so to speak. And he's kind of changed his stance on that a little bit, I think, since that last documentary, The Hunted or whatever, because they had some pretty weird stuff in it.
Yeah, he has changed his position. Yeah, a little bit. It's open. But you also hear about the children missing that spend the night with a big fuzzy bear.
Yeah, there was just one like that in North Carolina.
Yeah, there was one just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, sub-zero temperatures or sub-freezing temperatures.
Yeah, and he showed up. He showed up like in a place that they'd search.
Yeah,
like
it was also surrounded by thorn bushes.
Less than a quarter mile from his house.
Yeah, so none of it adds up, And so if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it might be a Sasquatch.
Maybe good ones. You know what I mean? Good ones helping people, but there may be other things, or maybe some that aren't good, or another species of something like a dog man. Sorry, dog man, I'm not going to blame you completely, but don't want one coming to get me tonight.
You want that to show up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just really, really bizarre, and to address that the forestry service, my guy in Canada lives in British Columbia. So years ago, when he was 21 or 22, he worked for a logging company. And part of what they did was go and replant areas that had been heavily logged and hadn't come back. So they were on crews. They took them up into the deep, deep woods. Sometimes there's not even any roads or anything. They're in the middle of nowhere, literally. And they go and reforest the trees that have been cut down and just did not grow back because of the canopies that block the sun. They can't get anyway. So he was 21. There's about a dozen guys, and they went up and they split into two groups of 12. And so his group, and this is a fascinating story. I think I love it. It's one of my favorite stories in the book. It's called "Let's Plant Some Trees." That's the name of the chapter. So they walk when they pull up into this area where they're going to be planting their trees. His group of 6 picked this area, and so they kind of head to this area that was cleared out and never came back. The other 6 guys were kind of real macho hunter guys, and they wanted to go deep, deep, deep in the woods so they could maybe see some game. Because there was no hunting, but they just wanted to see, for future reference, if there was a good area for them to hunt, and they'd come back later and hunt. So they go running off. There's about half a dozen of them go running off deep into the woods. They run up over a hill, and it's about 100 yards away, and they're out of sight. And they don't see him. My guy, they walked to this area, and they all of a sudden, all of them became giddy and kind of spaced out and trippy, and they were laughing and jumping around and just so happy and carefree and frivolous. And they found hundreds and hundreds of footprints.
Wow.
All over this area, and they were going, "Oh wow, what is that? Who would be barefoot? Oh, look at this one!" Oh, and some of them had dermal ridges on them, and he even described the dermal ridges as perfect little spirals instead of the type of dermal ridges we have as humans. They're almost a perfect circle that just went down into the middle to a dot. And so they found all these prints, and then they found these trees that had been gouged out. And he mentions the alders. The alder trees are really, really respected with some of the natives, the local natives up there, the indigenous people, for medicinal purposes. And so when the trees get to, when they fall in and they're rotting, when they get to a certain degree of decomposition, they have medicinal properties. They have bugs, termites and grubs and all sorts, and they're eating them. So what they do, they just take these trees and they take their hands and scoop out this huge handful of pulp, just wet, rotting wood, and they suck it around, slosh it around in their mouth, and they spit it out, and they get all the nutrients. And it seems to be like a yearly thing. At a certain time every year, the trees get to a certain state of decomposition where they are known, and they have medicinal purposes as well. So, and they're seeing all this stuff, and they're just going ape shit. No pun intended. I didn't mean to cuss, but anyway, they're just going crazy, and they're just walking around just like they're high on acid, and they're just tiptoeing and just laughing and giddy. They hear all this screaming from over the hill where the other big macho guys went, and they were like terrified, and they look up and they see these trees, 100-foot tall trees, and they're swaying back and forth like this. And the guys come running over the hill, and I kid you not, there's I'll show you. Oh, it's not in the book yet. I can't show you. But anyway, it's like Wham's hair sticking straight out.
Sasquatch hair, yeah.
Pride of Frankenstein.
Totally horrified, panic-stricken. Their eyes are bulging out of their heads. They all come running. Some of them had long hair, shoulder-length hair and longer. They were in ponytails. Their hair was literally like you had your hand on a Van der Graaf generator. You know what those are? Those things that generate electricity. You put your hand on it, and your hair stands up on your, and goosebumps. And they ran right past his group, and they ran down the road toward where the van was parked. And a couple of the guys kept running and never came back. They never saw him again. They didn't disappear forever, but they never came back, period. They all rode back in the van together. The foreman's going, "What the heck is going on? What are you guys doing? What have you been doing? You've just torn this area up." And they all told him what happened. He's going, "Bull crap." So he drives to a field office with what's left of the crew in the van. They go in and tell the guy what happened, and they're going, "Oh, come on, what's wrong? You guys doing dope or something?" Bottom line was, this didn't happen. You don't say a word to anybody. If you do, you're fired. You'll never work in the Forestry Service again. Period. End of conversation. They split the group up into 5 or 6 different groups. They took one guy from each group and put him on a new group so that he would have no one to talk to. You say a word, you're done. And that's the Forestry Service telling him that. And it's like a great in-depth story. I mean, but I wish I could show you the drawing, but it's on my computer. I don't have it up, and it's going to be in the book. I haven't got it published yet. But Sibylla Irwin did the drawing. But and when he went back, he worked for maybe a week or two, and he just couldn't do it because he couldn't talk to anybody. So after that happened, he went to the local bar where all the forestry guys hung out. It's just a neighborhood dive somewhere that they all hang out and go get drunk, drunk and drink and stuff at night. And a Native American crew was there, and they heard about the story, and they told them, "What do you think about it?" And they said, "We can't talk about it because it's our heritage not to speak of it, but we've talked to our elders, and it's best you don't say anything." Left it, but my whole point is that's just one isolated event, and the Forestry Service says, you say a word, you're done. And
Gotcha.
So that's how it works. Multiply it times 100 times, many times that happens every year. These creatures don't like you coming into their area because that's their home. They're willing to, sacrifice some of the forest for human, occupation. But when you come into the deep, deep, deep woods that maybe humans have never even been to, and you start cutting down our trees, the gloves are off. And so the funny thing was that the guys that came back running over the hill, and I'll ping you the photo. It's really good. Are you looking at your computer now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sure am.
Well, maybe what I'll do is send you the photo. It's copyright protected, but this happened, and it's mind-boggling. I mean, they're here, and the ride in the van from that location to the field office, about 25 minutes or so, their hair never relaxed. It stayed straight up. Their goosebumps were like pimples almost. It was just, it was painful to them. And they started snickering because they were all giddy. So his group was like, look at that, it's funny or crap. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And they started fighting and, screaming and yelling at each other. And there's a lot of, but it was crazy. It was just a crazy story, and it matches all the things you hear that are supposed to be, rumors. I mean, it's like, well, that validates that. I mean, so it's an awesome story, awesome telling of the story. And, and so I know that kind of stuff goes on. You've heard it, and you know how the government is about shutting people up, so it's fascinating story. I can't wait for someone to read it. It's, I dare anybody to debunk it. I mean, there's the negative people are always going to say, that's baloney. They're just a dumb ape. They can't do that stuff. And the thing was, nobody ever said they saw a Sasquatch, but they were horrified and in fear for their lives, but they never saw them. They felt their presence with the big 100-foot trees doing like waving in the they could see these trees going like this. God, who's doing that? How's that happening? It's no storm, no wind or nothing. It was the Sasquatch or their powers of manipulating the environment that were doing that. Crazy stuff.
So in the community, has it changed as far as Bigfoot and paranormal type stuff? Because I've had people before, I don't remember who, someone on Facebook threatened to beat me up because I said Bigfoot was paranormal. Has it become more lax, or is it still divided?
I'm finding that more and more people are accepting. Now, there is still the hate-filled negative people that just trash anything. And I really don't think they have a clue. They just prefer to be the negative side because, well, I cannot compete with your intellect. I cannot compete with knowledge base. I don't have reports at my disposal. So I just have to go with, well, I don't believe that. And I pity those people, and there's a reason I pity them is because everybody, you, Wham, everybody, including yourself and myself, we're all taught how to think the day we exit the birth canal. Our education and belief system is already in place and it's just transferred to us. There's no Sasquatch, there's no UFOs, there's no ghosts, there's no, life on other planets, another universe. There are no other universe. I mean, and things are changing. So, and we're told how things are. And so the teachers who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, who taught you go back just 10 generations, 25 years of generation, that's 250 years of disinformation. So you're taught. So immediately when you see something, if you see an orb or a UFO or a Sasquatch or anything, a dogman or a ghost or a misty or light being or whatever, well, that can't be because they say it doesn't exist. Who's they? Well, they, whoever, taught us. So you immediately discount it and try to find another explanation. Well, some of us ask questions and go, well, no, there's too much empirical evidence for that to be phony. There's something going on. So I understand why you don't believe it, because you're taught. And if you're happy with your world and your life, and you don't really have an interest in, Sasquatch or life on other planets, if you just want to do your life and do your thing and, get married, have kids, go to school, graduate, and all that other kind of stuff, and just live your merry life, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But if you become hateful and negative just because, well, that sounds like a bunch of crap, I'm just going to fight this till I die, those people are just, and they're setting us back, But as a rule, I'm finding when I wrote my first book, which was this one,
The Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma. Where's the best place to get it? Amazon. It's
well, actually, yeah. Here's the deal. I still have a few of these for sale on my website. I just signed a book deal with Beyond the Fray Publishing. So what they did was repackage this book, my first book, the one I just showed you. They repackaged it into this book. It's called Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of High Strangeness. So it's the same book, but it's my original book is color. This one's black and white. I added one chapter and about another 10 pages.
I'll grab that one.
It's pretty cool. Now you can get this on Amazon. It's like $15. My book, which is all color, it's all color photos and everything. I mean, it's got a lot of. It's all color anyway. So, but when I wrote that book and started doing podcasts like yours, I started hearing from people because I said I've got quite an open mind, and I believe there's something absolutely going on that we can't explain. I believe there's something to this. It's not just, well, I was drunk or I had some bad tuna at night and I was hallucinating or whatever. There's something going on, There's something going on, and I've had bad tuna. I've never hallucinated, by the way. Just thought I'd tell you. So these people started coming out of the woodwork, and they heard me on another podcast or two, and they started emailing me, and they're telling me these stories. I'm going, oh my God, And so the second book I did, which was this one, Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma 2. And I don't know if this was out when we talked the first time.
No, I don't believe so. I don't have that one.
This was the most recent. I released it in March of this year. And this one was, when was that? That would have been 2020 in about March. In fact, the day I released this is the day they shut the country down for COVID. Good timing, huh?
Yeah.
I sold tens of copies because the timing was just, all messed up. But these people were coming out just and telling me some incredible stuff. I had a guy with some missing time, 6 hours of missing time with a Sasquatch.
Wow.
Oh, man.
It's just mind-boggling. So what I'm doing is I'm redoing this book, and I've added about 100 pages almost, and got 5 more chapters. It's almost doubled in size. Almost. It was 147. And I'm down to about 235, 240 pages. So I've added a lot because these people just bombarded me, and they're all good stories. There's only a few that were like, I don't know. When you interview people, you can interview them a certain way, and you can ask the same question 5 different ways. They don't know you're really asking the same question over and over. And if their stories aren't consistent, there's something wrong. When you're just making stuff up, it'll change around. When you are telling the truth and you firmly believe what you saw, your data doesn't change one iota. You might be 5 or 10 minutes off or something, but your story remains the same because it's the truth. It's what happened. It's your perception of what happened. So anyway, it's mind-boggling. It's just, and these people start telling me stuff. I'm going, oh my God, I did the motherload of strangeness here, and it's really intriguing. And so people don't know each other. They haven't read this stuff anywhere else. Like I said before, they don't want any money. They don't want anything. They just want to tell the story and get it off their chest. And some of them have been sitting on this stuff for like 5, 10 years, 30 years. They're so devastated with some of the things that happened to them, they just can't even talk about it. And so, I'm happy to be that friendly face in the night that you can just talk to and tell me what's going on. If you want to be in the book, I like your story. I like to put it in the book. I will give your name, location. I remove all the geo data from the photos and everything I can to clean it up, so no one knows who these people are. Who they are, where they're at, matters not. It's the event, and every time I put one out there, there's somebody else contacting me with another event similar to theirs. And it's just, these people are all underground. I mean, they're hiding. They're in hiding, because they just can't tell anybody. And they're so relieved when they do. Oh my gosh, some of them are crying, and you can tell they're very emotional. And if I'm on a Zoom call or something with them, I can tell that they're tearing up and just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And some people have relationships that are damaged, some forever, because spouse or good friends don't believe them and just poo-poo it. Just, well, if you're going to keep doing this, we're done. I can't handle this. So anyway.
Do you hear a lot out of Florida? That's where I'm at. I know we have the 2Egg stump jumper here. We were looking around that 2Egg city, and it's like a very small city, and it's called a 2Egg stump jumper. Some kind of Bigfoot thing that happened there. The 2Egg stump jumper. It's on the BFRO site too under Florida, but there was also a return of the 2Egg stump jumper.
I haven't heard of that. Although I know Stacy Brown and all the skunk ape and stuff like that down there. His group down there. I haven't heard of that one. It's localized, so I don't pay a lot of attention to the local stuff because I got enough stuff here. Like we have Momo and the Falcon Monster, which is up in Arkansas.
Yes.
So and I take care of a 4-state area for BFRO: Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas. That's where I concentrate my airport reports, because if I want to go see somebody, it's only about 200-300 mile drive, and for me that's close. Not like driving to Florida or Ohio when I get some people. I've got a couple of people that contacted me from New York and Maine, Massachusetts, areas like that. But if I'm going to work an area, I want to have it someplace that I'm not afraid to hop in my car with a bug out kit and just go, and I can be there in a quarter of a day. So,
what are some cases that you've shown up to and you've had stuff happen to you during the case or when you've gone out?
Well, glad you asked that, Bob. As they say in sport. This photo right here. I have to get used to the camera angles here. You see the log, and over here, there's one rock. Over here, there's 5 rocks. So I led the expedition for BFRO. This was in Illinois, 2019. And it was on the books, and then they canceled it because the person who was going to run the expedition canceled, couldn't do it, had family issues or whatever. So they took it off the books. Well, they had a bunch of people already signed up and paid up. So they said, well, we still want to do this. So they put out an APB. BFRO said, hey, can anybody do this? Anybody want to do it? Well, that's only about 300 miles from me, Illinois, just right across the border. So I said, hey, I'll do it. Well, by then, some people had dropped out. Bottom line, there was 4 people. And then I made number 5, and my Sasquatch partner in Illinois, Harold Binney, he made number 6. So, and when I was there, I investigated a couple of sightings in this area, which I don't want to divulge, but I mean, it's a public area. I mean, anybody can go there, and it's well known, but I don't want a bunch of people running around up there trying to do things, and it happens. Anyway, so I investigated it. When I started talking to the locals, they said, well, if you want to go to an area that'll guarantee you something, there's an area here that nobody in their right mind will ever go at night. No matter the most badass macho hunter, men, women, whoever, they won't go there at night. They just won't go. And so I said, well, that's where I'm going. So I took the expedition to this area, and the photo, I'll explain because the events leading up to it. We went and checked out the area during the day. We found about a half a dozen footprints. I think 3 or 4 were probably Sasquatch related. A couple of them were probably not. They were just kind of vague enough, and they just they're more human size, and they weren't bare. A couple of these were barefoot, so in very choppy, sharp rocked ravines, and nobody would be walking down there barefoot. Anyway, so we found a bunch of prints. We cast the prints, and let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we cast the prints Thursday evening, went back Friday morning. Where we had cast the prints, trees were pushed over, blocking the prints. Not big trees. They were probably, saplings just about this big around, about 10, 12 feet tall, real long, skinny trees. But they pushed them over. They exactly...
Excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Bless you. They covered the footprints. They all were pushed. If you're looking down the ravine, they're all pushed from right to left. And this ravine was anywhere from 12 to 25 feet deep, and it went straight down at about a 30-degree angle. It's pretty steep and deep. So that's not a coincidence, which I don't believe in coincidences. The Sasquatch didn't want us to see their prints, and they're probably embarrassed that they left them, but we went back and got our casts. So, and they were all pushed over. And I said, okay, does anybody understand what's going on here? They're going, oh, yeah. They're trying to hide them. Yeah. They were upset that we found their prints, or they were just saying, hi, we know you're there. We know you saw us. We know you found our prints. So there you go. We just thought we'd let you know we're here and we're watching you, which is, great news. So we went back that night and went down there at night on night ops. And like I said, it's 12 to 25 feet. So all the way down to about 100 yards is where I decided to stop, because where I decided to stop, there was a large tree about 60 foot long that was blocking the ravine. And the locals told me that, well, the conservation area did that because they didn't want people riding their ATVs and stuff down there, because they got too many calls to rescue people that had wrecks or their tires were punctured and they needed help getting out of there, and they just got tired of messing with it. So they blocked the area so you couldn't go any further to the really gnarly area. So I went back and we had nice activity that night. They were throwing sticks and pebbles at us as we walked down this ravine, the 5 of us, and Harold, my buddy, due to some physical limitations, he had to stay in the parking lot in his vehicle because he couldn't navigate that rough terrain at night where the footing and the lighting is dubious. So, but he was there, but he wasn't there. They were throwing little sticks and pebbles. We could hear them following us. They were paralleling us as we walked down this ravine. You could hear them. And there was no grunts, no howls, no knocks, just they're throwing stuff at us. Like they knew we were there, and they were letting us know that they knew we were there. So we get down to the tree that was blocking, and I got a couple of heat signatures, but I couldn't really see what it was. I could just tell there was something behind the tree. So long story short, I go back last year to the day. It was the 1-year anniversary of the day that we were down there with the group, and it was just me and Harold went down there. And when we got down there and we went back down to the area where the tree was blocking everything, somebody had cut the tree. They cut it into 4 sections, and it was moved around, rolled around. And I later found out that the hunters go down there. They do hunt during the day. I'd seen a couple of them during the day up in their blinds. And they cut the tree so they could get their kill back up. Instead of hand carrying it, they could get their ATVs down to a certain point and drag the deer back up to the parking lot and take their kill away. So we're there, and we go back down. We see the tree's been cut, and also 2 giant trees had been pushed over from the left, blocking the view of that tree that had been cut. So we walked around it, and we saw that they'd cut it, and there was not a lot of activity, no prints or anything. So I decided to leave a couple of cameras there, and I was going to go back and get them the next morning. So this is about 2:00 in the afternoon. Now remember, this is during COVID by now. This is October of last year. COVID was all over the place. This was on a Wednesday afternoon when I left the cameras. I went back Thursday to get my camera on the way back to Kansas City. And I went back down there at 8:00 in the morning, and this was there. Gosh dang it, I hate this backward stuff. There we go. That log was there. Those rocks were there. They were not there the day before. The 5 rocks on the left are me and the 4 people on the expedition. The one lone rock over here is Harold, who was there but not there because he was still in the car back up at the parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm going, oh my God, they remembered us. They remembered us from the last year because we went back a year to the date of the expedition, and it just happened to have been a coincidence. But that represented, they were gifting me and they were communicating that I remember you from last year. You're the leader, the arrow on the rock, I'm the leader, and the 4 people behind me, and there's Harold at the other end of the rock who was there, but he really wasn't there. The second night we went out there with the expedition in 19, Harold stayed back at the campsite because he decided to stay back at camp. A lot of times when you leave camp, you get a lot of activity once everybody leaves the camp. So he stayed there because, again, he couldn't navigate the area. So it just screamed at me that, oh my God, they remembered me. That was 5. What are the odds of numerology, serendipity, however you want to look at it, that there are 6 rocks that represent the 6 people that were there the year before?
They're
Just
watching.
They were watching me. They remembered who we were. And here's the weird part. When I found that rock formation, those rocks, I called my wife and she said, well, here's something weird. The night before I found the rock, she said there was a blue orb in our bedroom. That's like 300 miles away. And she was saying, I watched this orb and it came from my side of the bed, it went around the bed, it zigzagged around the room, and then it just went into the bathroom and disappeared. And I've had a lot of weird stuff happen in the last year at our house, a lot of paranormal type things. Some things I could probably explain away, some I cannot. And I think they are connected. They remembered I was there. They were shooting a little message to my house that, hey, we're here. I remember you, and here's a little note. Well, sorry you're not home. Here's something to freak out your wife. And it was like, I get chills every time I tell this story because I know that I was in the presence of a creature or creatures that remembered me and were acknowledging my presence in a relationship, if you will. It just blew my mind. And so that is an extreme example of gifting and acknowledging your presence. It just blew me away. And so that's like one of the most eye-opening things that happened to me. And like we've had a lot of strange stuff happening here at the house. Knocks on our bedroom door when there's nobody home. And we both heard it. We were taking a nap one afternoon. We hear this on our bedroom door. Just 2 knocks, sharp, clear as a bell. 2:00 in the afternoon.
That gave me chills.
Yeah. And it's like, there's nobody here. It's just us. And the door wasn't jiggling. I mean, it was a knock. It was just as firm as it was like obvious it was on our door. We heard it. It sounded like knuckles on a door.
Had similar here.
Huh?
That's similar here. At one point, there was I know we talked about the glass. We had a glass that blew up on the countertop. No one was near it, a crystal glass. Another time, we were in, this was after her grandmother died, and I don't think it was the grandmother, but we were doing hospice with her, and she was 91. She passed away. But of that week, we were laying in bed, me and Christina, something hit the bed like twice hard near my head at the pillow. No one was there. I got a flashlight to look around. I thought, did something fall off a shelf and hit the bed? Nope, nothing on the ground. Something weird hit the bed to let us know it was there. And it was scary, but it sounds kind of similar to some of this stuff. I know you've mentioned there was similar stuff in other cases.
Oh, yeah. Well, in our house, after that, we're in bed at night, and my wife had her pillow yanked out from under her head. Just pulled out from under her head and thrown on the floor. I had what I felt. I was awake and I felt fingers, and they were working their way under my legs, and they were pulling me off to the side of the bed. I could feel it. I felt myself moving. I was awake. And when this was happening, my wife got up to go to the bathroom. It was about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, the typical time you get up and go pee about halfway through your night of sleep. I said, Sheila, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And she just kept walking like she didn't hear me. And I was awake. I was getting close to the edge of the bed. And then when she flushes the toilet, it stopped. And she comes back out. And she goes, did you say something? I said, yeah, I said something when you were walking into the bathroom. Did you see me getting pulled to the side of the... And this was just a few days after she had the pillow yanked from under her head. And we've had stuff walking across. Just about a month ago, she had felt a hand or pressure on her thigh. And a day after that, I found a little pellet. We have a cat, and we have cat litter. There's these little pine pellets, which I hate to use, so I quit using them because they're just really inconvenient when you're cleaning a cat box. I kept the bag out in the garage. I found a pellet on my side of the bed when I woke up. 2 days later, I found another pellet. Same spot, exact same spot, on my side of the bed to the right side of my body. Weird. We don't use them. We haven't used them in 6 months. I tried them and didn't like them. I just put them out in the garage. I didn't want to mess with them. But there's little pine pellets, and they're about that big. There's kitty litter. I got all kinds of, but it's just like, now unless it's poltergeist or some spirit that has nothing to do with Sasquatch, it's still bizarre. But I tie it into a relationship with the Sasquatch. I know people are going to be hearing this right now, and they're talking about, you're in your hospice story, and they're going, those guys are nuts. I'll take what they're smoking, please. Give me some of that. But it's real stuff. I mean, you saw it. It happened to you and your wife. It happened to me and my wife, and I've made a list of all the weird things that have happened during my investigations in the last year and a half. It's crazy stuff. Electronic interference. Voices, disembodied voices, noises, just crazy. I know it's related. I can't put my finger on it. I can't say it, but I because that is the only thing I research. I attribute it to my Sasquatch work. That's the only thing I have. Unless we have a haunting in our house, we just don't know it. Bizarre, cool. I get the chills when I talk about I'm rolling off the side of my bed. There's like 4 or 5 hands under each leg, and they're lifting me up and sliding me off. I'm going, and my wife says, "Well, it's lucid dreaming. You were just lucid dreaming." I said, "No, I was wide awake." Well, lucid dreaming means you're awake and you're watching yourself have a dream.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's a dent in my theory, and I'll take that, but. It just didn't make sense because she was there and she just didn't hear me. And so maybe I was in an alternate world and it was happening, and she was not aware of it at all because I was in another place and she was doing her thing, getting up, going to the bathroom. But it stopped when she flushed the toilet and turned off the light, started walking back into the room, then it stopped. Okay. I just don't think I was dreaming. I was awake. I was awake, and my hands were sweaty. I'm going, oh my God, what was that? And you start thinking of, demonic things and stuff like that. But, either one of us don't get any sense of any kind of negative force in our house. and we've had that before, but this wasn't one of those times. It was just utterly convincing and real. And like I tell everybody, and you guys too, it's your reality. Nobody can take that away from you. They can try, they can make fun of you and ridicule, but it happened, and you're sticking to your story. I don't care what you say. Just like when you're doing your hospice with your grandma. I mean, it is what it is. You can't dispute it. You can, just for argument's sake, but it's just pure folly. So there's something, we don't know what we don't know. The world is not as they tell us. It's only what they tell us. That's what we believe or think, because we don't know any better to research. Maybe we just don't care. We're happy with our lives, and it doesn't hit that curiosity bone we all have. And some people just go about their lives and don't think anything about it. But not us, right?
Exactly.
So it's just craziness. And the Sasquatch thing, I think there's more and more proof to me. I'm going to say proof, because too many people are telling the same stories, and people from all over the world are talking about that. And you ever heard of the Pork and Bean Show?
No, I haven't.
Brian Bland out of British Columbia, where my guy is up in Canada. I did a show with them about 6-8 weeks ago, and his co-partner, he's the Beans part. I don't remember what his stage name is, so to speak, but he looks like an old hippie. He's probably 60 years old. He's got long hair like I used to have back in the 60s and 70s, and he's just an old hippie. Well, he used to work he did a long time ago, he worked for the government in doing research on abductions and people who were abducted. And this was a worldwide survey, and I think they interviewed somewhere about between 1 and 2 million people worldwide about what they saw. If you were awake when you were abducted and taken onto a ship, who did you see there that appeared to not be an abductee, but part of whatever was going on? And they listed the Greys, the tall Grey, reptilians, Sasquatch, and the Nordics, the tall, blonde-haired Nordics. Sasquatch were supposedly in cahoots with the Greys and assisting in the abduction of these people. And they named them, and there was many more names, but the top 5 people they saw are human types or entities. Sasquatch and the Greys were right up there, as they were part of the crew or part of the crowd and not part of the abductees. Go figure, And he did the study, and I can't remember how long ago. It was in the 70s or 80s, but they took him a while. But they interviewed millions of people all over the world to try to get a handle on what people saw. So, how do you shoot holes in that theory? I mean, he could be BSing me, but he worked for he's just a legit guy. He didn't care if you believe him or not. This is what I did, and this is what I part of the data that I gathered. So there's just too much stuff going on, in the nice, tight little world we're told we have is fine for most people, That's fine. I believe that. It's okay. My life I don't want to complicate my life, so that's it. But for us, there's something else.
There's a guy who's there's a documentary called Love and Saucers. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I've interviewed the guy that made it, Brad Abrahams. But it's about what's his name, David Huggins, and he paints all these pictures of alien encounters he's had and stuff, and a really good artist. But he lived in Georgia, and then he moved up north. But he also claimed that some weird sex stuff happened to him with aliens. And if you just hear the stuff off the cuff, you're like, this dude's crazy. But if you really sit down and listen to him, he's like a straight shooter, and he seems like honest. But there was some paintings he did, and he actually had them in a gallery of alien stuff, Greys, Mantis, but there's also a little hairy man that would show up in some of them. And it was like a little red-eyed Bigfoot. But Love and Saucers, I don't know, look that up sometime. It's a really good documentary.
Yeah, the forest people is what they call them, the little forest people. My Squatch partner here in Missouri, Brian Woods,
Me.
he was given a photo of what looked like a little hairy elf with big
Little
ears,
hairy elf.
like pointed at, fairy people. It was here in South Missouri, very near one of my research areas. And it's kind of blurry, but it was taken about 2 o'clock in the morning, going through a forest. This guy was coming home after he got off work and was driving on the lonely country road in the middle of nowhere late at night all by himself. And this creature just shows up on the side of the road. He hits it with his headlights. It's coming around a curve, and there it is. You're just walking, and I've got the picture somewhere. It's pretty bizarre. It's just blurry enough, of course, that you really can't make it out, but it's definitely humanoid. You can see the body, the shoulder, the head, and hair and stuff. And these pointed ears look like Spock on steroids, but bigger ears. But it's a little short thing, like 4 feet or less. Wasn't big, But there's just all kinds of stuff. Ron Moorhead. He did the commentary on my first book. His Sierra sounds in his camp being destroyed. You familiar with that story?
He's been on before. Yeah.
Yeah. Him and 2 or 3 of his partners, they've been surrounded by these Sasquatch all night, and they heard him. That's where they recorded most of that chatter, the chatter, the gibberish, and the Chinaman chatter and all that. The conversation.
Yes.
You've heard the Sierra sound, so I won't bore you with that. But after all that surrounding and activity was going on, they felt like these guys are going to come after us. We don't know what they are, and they were newbies to all of us. They had no idea. Some giant creature was, creeping them out and surrounding them, and they thought they were going to be harmed. So they all jump into his shelter they had, which is these huge 6, 7, 8 tall foot log, big trees, and they're all chained together to 2 much larger trees, and it formed a safe area, kind of their little shelter. And they went in there and they started hearing their camp being totally destroyed. Garbage cans they kept up there for firewood and non-perishable foods that would be there 6 months to a year, because they could only get up there a couple times a year, and nobody knew where this place was. And they heard the entire camp being destroyed. The garbage cans rolling down the hill, their silverware and other gear was just destroyed. And after all the destruction stopped, they decided the coast was clear, and they went out. Nothing had happened. They were made to hear. They heard all of this, but nothing happened. Something these creatures did made them hear something that was not happening, but they were very certain it was happening. And that's happened to me, and that's happened to other people, where you think you're seeing something or hearing something and it's not there. It happened to my wife and I when I took her to a research area of mine, and I think infrasound or perhaps some type of hypnosis was at play. And my wife always thought, she used to say, well, I believe you believe. It's cool. I believe you believe. Sort of patronizing, but not really. She just had not had experience, but she sees all the evidence that comes across my desk, some of the photos and videos and recordings. She's going, well, yeah, that's interesting, but I don't know. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you somewhere. I'll take you to one of my research areas. And you know when you say you're going to take somebody somewhere, I'll show you, nothing ever happens. So, I took her to my research area down in Ellington, Missouri, and I just want to take you to this area. And this is an area where I'd seen one of my first Sasquatches on thermal, and it disappeared. It just vanished. It flashed. Just disappeared right in front of my eyes on my camera. So that was 2014. So I decided, okay, I am baptized now. I am way far away from the ape in the woods. There's something going on here. That's bizarre. So I took her to this area, and as soon as we get there, she's creeped out. And I sense all the, I'm used to, you get that hair standing up on the back of your head, you know something's watching you, that creeped out feeling. Everybody gets it, kind of like a haunted house, but on steroids, So I knew what was going on. It was kind of creepy and weird, but I knew I was in their area, and I knew they lived in this area. And she got there within 2 minutes. She was like, we're getting out of here. We're leaving. I believe you. I believe you. She said, no. I just want to take you down here. I said, no. We're going back to the car. I said, look, the car's up there. I look up there, And where I parked the car, and by the way, there's a gate where you cannot drive down this ravine either, because they don't want, the conservation area doesn't want people driving down there, because it's like the other place. They don't want to rescue you and you'll blow your tires, and it's just, you walk down 100 yards. I shine my light and my car's gone. I said, where'd my car go? And I shine down to where I'm going, and my car's at the bottom of the ravine. I'm going, how did our car get down there? We didn't park down there. She's going, our car's not down there. It's up on the top of the hill. Shine your light back up. So I shine my light back up, and my car's gone. I said, it's not there. It's down here. And I shine the light back down there, and there's my car where it shouldn't be and couldn't be. Physically impossible. She's going, your car's not there. There's nothing there. What are you talking about? I said, look, we parked up there, and my car is back where it should have been. I shine the light back down where I know it was, and it shouldn't have been in the first place, and it wasn't there. So I'm being made to see something that's not there. She's being affected by hypnosis and or infrasound, and so am I. We're two people affected by the same thing, and we're both seeing and or hearing something entirely different from the other person. Blew my mind, and I knew what was I knew what was happening, but I was in the moment. I was going, how'd that happen? And I'm going, that car can't be, but there it is. How did it happen? So I'm already confused, which is the whole idea, and maybe they're distracting us so they can get away from the area, because maybe there's some juveniles or something. But that's an example, just like Ron Moorhead's thing, where they're hearing their camp being destroyed, and they're all going, oh God, we're going to have to clean this crap up. We got to go down the mountain and get our stuff. Oh my God, what are we doing? We got no food, and there's nothing happened. They all heard it, and nothing happened. Nothing had been touched. And I'm in my area, and I'm seeing something that obviously could not have happened, yet I know I saw it. And she was looking where I shined my light up. I said, our car's down there at the bottom. She's looking around. Our car's not there. What are you talking about? There's nothing there. I said, yeah, it is. Our car's not up there. I shine my light where my car should have been. There's the car. No, it's not there. It was hilarious, really. I mean, it's hilarious to me now. And at the time, she was panicking. She had to get out of there ASAP, And so infrasound, hypnosis, whatever they did. And this was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It was pitch dark. So crazy stuff.
I know I've heard of people getting sick around them, and I know on that Expedition Bigfoot show, I think someone got sick and couldn't go with them or something. So does that happen a lot, where someone might get sick from something out there when they're messing with you?
Yeah, if you do any research on infrasound, infrasound, you know what that is? It's a sound that is above and below the human range of hearing. So, and they use it a lot, in dispersing rioting crowds over in Europe. They use these sound cannons where they blast infrasound, and you don't hear it, but it tears up your guts. It makes you sick. It makes you see things. You feel really bad. And I've been around a couple of people, other than myself, that have had things going on. And so, you hear that, and you just wonder, how do they do that? So when you're with people who believe they're dumb apes in the woods and they see and experience this stuff, they cannot, with a straight face, look you in the eye and go, well, that was baloney. I don't know what that was. That's that damn bad tuna sandwich that seems to be going around. It's something they can do to manipulate your environment. And there's electromagnetic forces that can be manipulated. There's all kinds of theories about things they can do, but you can't say no because nobody knows. And the government's not telling us. They know exactly what's going on. The thing is that why are they keeping, if it's a dumb ape in the woods, why are they keeping it such a big secret? What's the big deal? That wouldn't be a reason to keep it secret. They're discovering new species of apes, birds, fish, snakes, constantly. Why keep something like that secret if there's not something more mind-boggling and devastating to the human psyche, so to speak? Why would you keep that secret if it's just a dumb ape?
UFO connection, maybe, or something like that. For sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And my guy with missing time, the Bigfoot thing, up in the Northeast, 6 hours of missing time. Him and his dog woke up. It was just, there's too much going on. There's too much of that bizarre stuff going on, that it just defies logic as we know it. So, my guy up in Canada has had all kinds of stuff going on with him, just crazy, bizarre stuff. And none of it is anything you can explain with ordinary science. Science is of no help whatsoever. Science helps us not one iota. Of course, they're pretty much got their hands out with the government with their grants and stuff. So if they're going to continue to get those grants, you just toe the company line. You just say, well, there's no such thing as Sasquatch. They don't exist. There's no proof. Interesting theory, but there's no proof. You tell that to the thousands of people that are seeing these things. What do you tell them? You're crazy.
There's that show American Horror Story, but then there's also one called American Horror Stories. And American Horror Stories is kind of like Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt or something. It's just a small 1 hour story. But one of them that I saw, there was a national park story where these people, I think their son went missing, and they went out there to find out what happened, and it led to this these feral cannibal people that were like mutants were taking people and I guess eating them or whatever. But it was funny because one of the characters was a park ranger, and he had this conspiracy government thing and said the government built the national parks to keep those things at bay from going into society and doing worse damage. It was a really weird episode called Feral that was kind of creepy and missing 411 kind of ways. And of course the mutants were over the top. They were gross, really gross, but it was definitely kind of creepy to see it on TV like that, though. It was kind of
we watched both of those shows. Those are on our high priority watch list. In fact, we watched one last night where the husband who's a screenwriter and the wife just had a baby. And we're watching that. Yeah, we're watching that, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's so well done, and it's creative. I haven't seen that. I'm gonna look it up because we watched the short story version. We watched that the 1 hour. I think they're not even an hour. They're like they're 1 hour shows, and they're not connected. You see one, and that's it, and it moves to another.
It's American Horror Stories. It's called Feral, and there's one more episode of the Black Pill story coming on next week, and then after that's a 4-episode alien story in Death Valley. So I'm looking forward to that one. I like this one, but I'm definitely looking forward.
That's on American Horror. That's on American Horror.
American Horror Story, that's after the Black Pill story ends next week, and then it starts the Alien Death Valley 4 episodes. Like it'll be another story.
And I've had experiences, and that's a whole other story. I may be getting interviewed about my stuff with ETs a long time ago, but I just did a book. I did a paranormal conference here last weekend, 3 days. And I heard some really bizarre stuff, just like when I was on the podcast. And I'll wager you a nice dinner that I'm going to hear at least one story from your show once it airs. Because I'm starting to hear, every time I do one of these, I'm starting to hear from people that I got nowhere to turn. I want to tell you this. I don't care if you don't believe me, but just listen to me. I say, I'm all ears. Here I go. I'm going to turn on my recorder. I'm recording this because I can't write as fast as you can talk. So I record it and I play it back. But yeah, it's just, there's something going, don't you just get a feeling there's an undercurrent of something going on in the world? Don't you just get a feeling that there's going to be a big reveal? There is something to all of this. That there just is. All of this stuff is coming out now. And because of technology and communications, if nothing else. And it's flattering to be called, and people are reaching out and emailing me. It's really flattering that they trust me with their stories, and I feel honored to hear from them, and I hope it continues. But it's just it's crazy. It's just crazy, and
Yeah,
But
we've had we do a lot of UFO stuff, and we both have had UFO experiences. I've seen some strange beings that I don't know what the hell they were, but I've seen some weird that it seems like they may have came from a UFO kind of stuff for sure. So definitely love that subject as well. One of my biggest ones was these three cloaked beings in the woods standing around a black box. They're very small. And I don't know what they were because you couldn't see their faces, but me and a friend saw them, and a cat jumped towards them, and they vanished. And at that time, I had been reading Celtic otherworld stuff about little people and stuff like that, like Celtic kind of stuff. So I don't know if that attracted it or whatever, but definitely have had some weird stuff in the sky that I can't explain. No doubt about it.
Yeah, some of my habituation folks have seen very large cylindrical craft, 100 yards long, like kind of cigar shaped, huge. But it was, and I've been to their property several times, and we sit on the front porch and we trade calls and whoops and knocks with Sasquatch that live on their property, and they stay across the road, and you can hear them, and we're chattering back and forth with each other. Bizarre, but on occasion they'll be sitting out there, and a huge craft will just slowly glide. It's a football field long. It's just going across the sky, and it's at night, but there's a glow to it, so they can see it's a silver craft with patterns, with some kind of pattern on it. Not hieroglyphics or etchings, but it's just a pattern like hammered metal of some type. But anyway. They see these craft, and they've seen some orbs, and they've had stuff going on in their house, and they attribute it to Sasquatch because that's pretty much what they've got going on out there. So yeah, it's just bizarre, and it seems like it's all kind of connected because it just makes sense that it's connected. Not that the Sasquatch is piloting a craft, although who knows, but. There's just too much going on from too many people that don't know each other and don't want anything. They just want to get their story out. And, and I did some research for my book. And, of course, I'm not a scientist, obviously. Just a dirty old hippie. But you cannot hallucinate things that are not there. There is something called a visual hallucination. It's something that you can see, but it's very momentary. And it's almost in the pareidolia field where your eye tries to see something, make sense of a shape to make it fit into what you know and believe. And a lot of people say they see people in the woods and Sasquatch by a tree, and it's really pareidolia because you're just seeing a stump with the moss and you really can't identify. So, but they're seeing things that just defy logic, and there's just something going on. I mean, God, yeah, I got so many things I could tell you. I've had my own UFO experience when I was 10 years old, and I didn't find out about it until 2005, and that's an interesting story. But it's not Sasquatch related, but it's just to tell you that there's other things going on in the world, and we all know it. We all, those of us who are looking into this, we're in two camps. We're the weirdos, and then there's all the other normal people. So I prefer to be in the open-minded people. If that makes me weird, whatever. That's fine. I'm weird.
Follow your weird. I know in that Missing 411 The Hunt documentary, there's a story where like a craft parks over a football field, and then Bruce Maccabee's wife sees kind of a stealth being in the tree or something like that. So that sounds like a Bigfoot in a tree or something.
I'm friends with Maccabee, and I get some of his stuff, and he just posted that about a few months ago because somebody was debating him, and his wife got in and chimed in because they were kind of ragging on him a little bit, and so she got on there. So no, I'll tell you, I'll speak up because I'm the one that saw it, and so she shut that negativity down real quick. He's a fascinating guy, And, he's on board with the UFO, the disclosure with the government. He knows it's just a bunch of crap, and they're just throwing us a bone to keep us quiet. Same thing they're going to do with Sasquatch, And it's just frustrating. So, but you're onto something when they poo-poo it. Like I said before, if this was just another undiscovered primate, what's the big secrecy? They find people in Sumatra and Borneo and all these, little forest, little 2 or 3 foot tall, chimp-like hominids that are in our lineage, supposedly. They have no problem discussing that and bringing it up. So what's the big deal with the Sasquatch? So there's an 8 or 10 or 12 foot tall, possibly human-related creature running around. So what? It's not that big a deal. It is a big deal if there's something else to it. Because that in and of itself is not that big a deal. It's a big deal because there's something going on. There's an intellect there that's probably superior to ours. There's things they can do. I've been frozen before where I couldn't get up, and I wanted to get up. I had to get up. I had to pee, and I heard this boom, 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 something walking by my tent, and I couldn't get up. I wanted to get up, and I couldn't make my arms move. It was weird. Then I got out when the footsteps got further and further away. Then I was able to get up and get outside the tent. By then, whatever it was gone. I know darn good well what it was, but I didn't see it. But my fellow camper, my other Sasquatch buddy, who was about 25 yards away in his tent, he heard the same thing and got up. I said, "Well, we both got up to take a pee at the same time. Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Hear what?" I said, "Sounded like big giant footsteps." "Yep, I did. That's what got me up." And so he got up and he wasn't affected, but this creature had already gotten further away from him than it was from me, and so he wasn't affected. They didn't, hit him with infrasound or something. So, there's a call in, Michelle Millions.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. Is that what that is? Is a call in? You can.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
I think it's a live viewer comments. I clicked it. It says show, but I don't see anything, so I don't know. Oh wait, hello. Is she there?
She can hear it. I don't know if you can talk to her, but she can type in a question.
Oh, okay.
And that's normally what they do in that StreamYard on the comments. It'll be streaming. It'll just be live and it'll be going. And maybe it's not set up right or something, but there's usually dozens of people listening to the show and they'll type in questions. And so if she has something, she could probably type it in.
You have something, type it in for sure. And the pig's trying to make noises. We got a small one of those little pigs, and they're cool at first, but man, they'll drive you nuts. Those little things.
Oh, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
you just little pot belly.
Yeah, and I swear it'll yell "Mama" for Christina. It sounds like it's yelling "Mama." Mama. And it sounds like it's really saying "Mama." I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but it's like, is that thing saying "Mama"? It's like,
well, he's in the right household apparently. Anyway.
Yeah. I was gonna ask Wham, have you heard anything about Bigfoot? People seeing Bigfoot and then like weird stuff following them at their house later?
Oh, absolutely. I've talked about this. Carter doesn't know this, but I've worked with the woman who does the Bigfoot research here in the Hudson Valley, and featured her in the book that I wrote about paranormal stuff in the Hudson Valley, and she's had that happen to her, where she's gone out to a location to do various types of study, field research, and stuff has followed her home. And there have been a number of other people that have been associated with her that they've had that experience where things have followed them home, and not just Bigfoot. I was just talking on Labor Day weekend. We had our UFO Pine Bush UFO Festival here, and so I went to that at least for a little while. And ran into one of the people that I featured in my book, and we had a conversation. And he has talked to me a lot. I talk about this in the book, but he also had a few other examples where people have done work in Pine Bush, and have gotten all kinds of interesting experiences, whether they were UFO experiences or ghost experiences or cryptid experiences of various types. And then that stuff would follow them home. And he associates it with the little people stuff, and because that's what it reminds me of, and so, reminds him of. And in fact, when we were talking about the haunted situation that I'm investigating right now at the gym where I work out, we both found ourselves like knocking wood, to keep the stuff from following us home. It was just kind of funny because he's had stuff follow him home.
Yeah, and see, I didn't know any of that, and I've just told you that stuff's happening to me, and I've got other people. And I don't know if you know Mike Patterson, who's got this ongoing relationship with Neff and a few other Sasquatch in a clan where he is up in Canada, and and they follow him home, and they materialize marbles out of nowhere. They just materialize in his house and fall to the floor. And my guy in Canada, he sent me a marble that was left for him as a gift. He sent it to me as a thank you because I'm putting him in my book. And he sent me a piece of human bone and some obsidian and this marble that is obviously very, very old. It's an old piece. And they can do that. Another guy had a marble materialize. It came out of a tree and fell on the ground right in front of this tree. He watched it materialize, come out of this tree, and just fall on the forest floor. There's something to do with marbles, But yeah, I just told you something. I had no idea you had anything going on like that. So you know what I mean? I mean, it happens.
Oh, absolutely. No, it happens. I mean, it happens. I mean, I've worked with the indigenous people here. And one of the things that they are really cautious about is they don't like to talk about the little people very much. And so you really have to sort of pull teeth to get them to talk about the little people, because they say that if you talk about the little people here in the woods, and this is in the Hudson Valley, if you talk about the little people here in the Hudson Valley, they will think you're interested in them. And so they will come into your house. Mm-hmm. And so, and there are a couple of people I know who've sort of been like infested. You know what I mean? Of course, they sort of drew them in too, in the sense that they weren't being really careful. You have to be aware of your intentions, and pretty clean about that.
Yeah, there are good ones and bad ones, just like humans.
Yeah.
There's all walks of life, all mentalities, all education levels, all, I always use this analogy, angels to assholes and everything in between. I think the Sasquatch have the same personalities. You got some, dummies, some hostile ones, some lovely, and most of them are very benevolent and they're watching out for us and trying to preserve the earth. They don't like what we're doing to the earth, and who does really, and they're here to take care of the earth. They've been here much longer than we have, and they'll be here probably a lot longer after we're gone, us humans, because we're just a plague on the earth really right now, unless we straighten our act up. So I think they have all types of personalities, just like we do, just humans, So you can't. I just don't get the sense that any of them are evil natured. The Sasquatch, they are generally observing us because they are truly interested in us, as they have families just like we do. They have children. They have good times and bad times. They love to watch the women and children playing out in the yards. They're very fascinated with women and children, especially because women are the life givers and the nurturers. And so they're fascinated with us. And so they tend to watch us, and they want to be around us, but not too much. They don't like what we're doing to the earth. Not much they can do about that. We have to get smart on our own. Something will happen. It's probably in the process of happening now, but yeah, they're the little people, the forest people, fairies. I'm sure there's good and bad versions of all of those. Because you can't just have one race that is just super wonderful and perfect all the time. They've got to have issues like we do. And so, but it's fascinating when stuff like that happens. And then you're talking about people, getting followed home, and I think I got followed home. I think something somehow introduced itself to my wife 300 miles away, and I was, they were kind of letting her know, hey, this is for your husband when he gets home. You tell him his story, or it was just for her benefit to let her know, and she was to make of it what she wanted to. It's fascinating. That's why we're all doing this. It's a fascinating thing. We're learning things, and we want to enlighten people. Here's this marble. Now, this is what he gave me, and it is ancient. You really can't see much because it is, but it's little bitty, and it's like blown glass with inlaid little chunks of rock in it. And this was left on a pile. He was digging in his yard, and he left a pile of dirt because he was digging for indigenous artifacts, pottery shards, arrowheads, spear tips up there in British Columbia. And he found some human bone and some obsidian, which is a really beautiful black rock. But he got tired and left. He came back out the next morning. This rock was on the pile of dirt on the very top. Wasn't there before. It was just there, out of nowhere. That's something. They got something. There's something really weird attraction to marbles, whatever. But I think it's a really cool thing, And he sent that to me. I just got it here a few days ago. My birthday was just actually yesterday. He sent it to me. I got it. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna get some kind of necklace made where I can protect it and just wear it around my neck, But it's kind of cool that a Sasquatch creature was handling this marble. At least that's my belief system. I'm going to go with it. It's pretty cool, Isn't it just bizarre? The whole. Hey, I want to show you something. This is taken from a trail cam. Look at that. Look at the detail. You can see the knuckles and the wrinkles, the fingernails.
That's amazing.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
And that happened here in the U.S. I went down and visited this guy a year ago. January of this year. And he gave me the photo. And he lets a guy hunt his property. He doesn't hunt a lot, but he has about 30 or 40 cameras on his property in a very concentrated area. He has cameras taking pictures of cameras, taking pictures of cameras. So if there's, he happens to get something, he's got, if the cameras malfunction as they often do with Sasquatch, I think they can interrupt the electrical process. But he's got all these cameras set up. The guy who was hunting was looking at his, he was smoking a cigarette, getting ready to be done for the day. He's crawling down from his blind. And I've been to that location. I went there and I've been to that blind. It's a really cool place. I went up there. He watched his Sasquatch come up from the woods and walk out into this clearing. And he looks up and the Sasquatch is looking right at him. And the Sasquatch just kind of ignores him. He turns left and walks along the tree line, walked right in front of this camera. It even bumped it because the background is a little blurry. It's a little bent. And so the camera got bumped. He walked that close. So, and he got the picture. So, and there are some good pictures coming out on trail cams. So you just got to go, even though I believe firmly that they can interrupt the signal, the electronic signals, drain the batteries. They can do whatever they want to disable. There's obviously one who's not really paying attention, didn't get the memo from the big Sasquatch. Hey, you know that little box with an eyeball on it hanging on the tree? Don't walk in front of those. You're a dumbass if you do it. Please don't do that because that's humans taking pictures of you. He didn't get the memo. He walked right in front of the thing. And so there's ones that aren't paying attention at times. I know there are a lot of people that have killer video and pictures, they allege, and they just aren't going to share them because why? If it's too good, it's fake, obviously. If it's not good, it's kind of blurry. Well, of course it's blurry because there's nothing there. You're just making it up. You can't win when you show stuff, So I put it in a book, and you can you can buy the book and bitch and moan all you want, but it's a darn good picture. So there's things going on out there, and every now and then some good stuff gets through. So if we, the average lay person, can get those kind of photos, imagine what the government has besides bodies, So
Definitely. I know I've interviewed Dave Coleman before, and he has this book about Bigfoot and filmography, Bigfoot and movies and TV shows. It's like this big yellow book just filled of crazy, old movies with Bigfoot and stuff like that. But recently there's a show on Hulu that you might want to check out, and I hope Wham can see it one year somehow. It's called Reservation Dogs. And it's about these native kids living on the res, but one of the episodes had a Bigfoot in it. Also, Wes Studi was in it, the dude from Last of the Mohicans. There's a lot of native actors in it, but it's funny, too. It's by that New Zealand guy that did What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know if you've seen that with the vampires. It's on Hulu. It's a funny vampire show that's really good. You and your wife would probably really love it. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. There's a movie, and then there's a series, but it's about these vampires all living in a house together, like on a reality show, and it's hilarious. It's kind of like the New Monsters or Addams Family, but more extreme. I would say it's more extreme. It's by the New Zealand guy. I always have trouble saying his name, Takiti Wakiti or something like that. But he also did Reservation Dogs, which is on Hulu, and it's got one of the episodes had a Bigfoot in it. It was really good. Bigfoot is in so many different things in our culture, and just trying to learn what's up with it. It's just such a weird subject that they live out there, and I wonder how they live. I mean, from what we've gathered, it seems they live in caves and maybe hut kind of things. What do we know about that? We only got about 5 minutes, but anyway, have you learned anything else about how they live?
No, and I'm on the fence about caves. Now I know, if I was on the lam or running from somebody, I wouldn't want to go to a cave that didn't have a back way out. But that being said, a cave is a perfect place to hide, especially if it goes deep in the ground. And the Sasquatch traditionally have watchers, so there's always somebody watching out for predators and or humans. They get too close, they sound the alarm, they bug out, or they create a distraction. So you're looking over here, and over here they're running away from you while you're watching, for the other distraction. That happens quite often. So they do build structures, and some of these structures, I found a few that are very long, just high enough for something 7, 8, 9 foot tall to crawl in and lay down. Why they need shelter remains to be seen, because they have so much at their disposal as far as caves, low spots, and stuff like that, depressions in the ground where they can go. I think they do use caves, but I think they have watch outs so they can do it. The structures, they don't seem to spend much time in there. Sometimes I almost think they're ceremonial rather than practical uses, unless it's the juveniles, because if you go in there, and I've been in a few, there's no hair. The ground is pretty much just like a large creature hasn't been laying in there because the ground's not padded down or matted or anything like that. I've looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find any hairs unless they're just very, very meticulous and clean the area up before they leave, which I don't think they're that meticulous. I know they're good about erasing their footprints or where they walk. So I do think they use the caves, but I think it's, on a case-by-case basis, but if they're isolated way up on a mountain, I think caves are the perfect place. If you've got a watch out looking out for you to sound the alarm while everybody else is sleeping, why not? That's a perfect location. I don't know of anybody that's found a location with caves that has evidence. I know of a few people that have found caves that have been warned off, or from sounds or calls or growls or grunts have come from the back of the cave. Could have been a bear, could have been who knows what. wolves in certain areas, but I do think a cave would be a perfect location. Some of these structures are very long and complex, so I don't see them staying in there because I just don't see, unless it's in a temperate area, because I don't see them protecting you from the elements all that much.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that. And I think you get up in the Pacific Northwest and areas in Canada where it's very, very, very isolated. I see that might be more of a possibility because your chance of a human encounter is far less than in a national park somewhere. Good thought, though.
definitely. Well, we got about 2 minutes. Let's get some plugging in here for you. What's your site, and when's your next book coming out, and where's the best place to get them, and your site?
Well, my site is www.relichominid.com, and you can still buy these 2 books there. I have a few left, and the publisher is allowing me to go ahead and get rid of my inventory, so either one of these books is still available. And this book is available on Amazon. It's Sasquatch Down the Rabbit Hole of Strangeness. It is this book, the orange one. It's that book, but it's black and white, and it's got one extra chapter and about another 10 pages. But it's got some really cool stuff. It's sort of from A to Z. If you're not really familiar with the subject, but definitely interested, you'd read this, and kind of goes through structures and the fact that they can count. They have a language. I kind of go from A to Z and give a lot of really good examples about a lot of this stuff. And the second book is going to be, so I'm told, it's going to be this book, but version 2, Sasquatch Down this Rabbit Hole of Strangeness, book 2. And I don't know anything about the artwork or anything like that yet. We haven't put it together. So this book is going to be the second book that I've enlarged by about almost 100 pages. I probably have close to an extra 100 pages on it by the time I get it done. So you can buy the black and white book on Amazon. It's about $15. They're doing ebooks. They're doing books on tape. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So I've got some pretty good reviews on there. I mean, I'm kind of flattered that people took the time to write some nice reviews. It's kind of cool. So cool. That's it. You can email me if you want to at SQ, that's like Sasquatch, SQExplorer@gmail.com. You can email me if you've got stories or an event you want to share and you just don't want to tell just anybody. I listen with respect, and I greatly appreciate, somebody sharing their story with me, and they, you have a safe place. I won't identify who you are or where you are or anything like that. I'll let you tell me a story. We'll talk about it and come to some kind of conclusion. Maybe we have a conclusion that we have no conclusion because, but I welcome any kind of communication like that because I love it. It's fascinating. And somewhere, and some of that might be an answer. Don't know.
Definitely a puzzle piece that leads to the answer. Well, we appreciate it so much, Carter. I've enjoyed it so much. The return, it's been great. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed the holy moly out of it. Wham, good to meet you. I'll send you that picture that's going to be in the book with the hair standing on end. It's pretty crazy about the forest, the planting up there. It's a good drawing. Sibylla Irwin does all my drawings for me. She's really
cool.
Good.
Cool. I'll have to nab that second book when I get paid October 1st for sure. I appreciate it so much. Thanks so much. Thanks, Wham. Thanks, Carter. Y'all have a good weekend. Remember Reservation Dogs and What We Do in the Shadows. If you have,
I wrote it down. I'm going to hit that, and I'm already on the horror story stuff. We watched that.
Yeah, Feral is that episode. It's crazy as hell for sure. It's sick. It's sick. All right. Have a good weekend. Take care, everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see you.